This is a topic I've covered before, but I see a lot of questions still coming up about, my quail are this many weeks old or that many weeks old. We got a cold front coming through. Are they going to make it? How warm does it need to be before? How old do they need to be before I move them outside? That kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to address in today's video. Hey there, welcome back to another slightly rednecked video. Again, my name is Chris, and like I said, we're going to be talking today about how old your birds need to be before you move them outside. Now, give you the short answer, really, they feather out pretty quick. So, we're talking Coturnix quail here, of course. They feather out usually by about 2 weeks. They're pretty much fully feathered out, and at that point, you can, for the most part, move them outside. Now, there are some caveats to that. It depends really on how cold it is outside, but they are incredibly hardy. So here's the way that I do it. I keep them at about 100 degrees. Now I have a temperature controller. I use the Inkbird Wi-Fi connected whatever. It's in my Amazon shop. You can go find it. Check the description below and you can find the link to that. I use that to control the temperature of my heat lamps. It has a temperature sensor that goes inside the brooder, and I just set the temperature on there and it controls it. So 100 degrees for the first 2 or 3 days, then I drop it down to about 95 degrees. I do that for a day, maybe 2, and then I drop it down to 90 degrees. Now that's for the first week, really. That gets me through about a week, and at that point they're starting to feather out. So then I just watch the birds. If I go in, the temperature controller is set at 90 degrees. I go in and the birds are all just kind of roaming around the brooder box like normal. They're not all huddled up under the heat lamp. Then I'll drop it down to about 85 degrees and leave it there for a day and watch them. And then to 80 degrees. So usually, I'm dropping it 5 to 10 degrees a day. After about a week and a half, I'm dropping it 10 degrees a day. So by the end of 2 weeks, I've got them down to roughly 60 to 55, 60 degrees, 50 degrees, somewhere right around in there. And again, I just watch my birds. If they're not all huddled together under the heat lamp, then I just drop it down another 5 to 10 degrees. And usually by the time, at the end of 2 weeks, I'm dropping it 10 degrees a day and just watching them and making sure they're okay with that. So these birds right here, they're roughly 4 weeks old right now, but I had a business trip I had to take out of town last week. Our temperatures here were mid to late October, mid-October right now. This was early October, I guess. So it's, coming up on fall. It's starting to cool off just a little bit, but we were still getting 80-degree days, getting down in the 60s at night. So at the end of 2 weeks, before I left for my business trip, I didn't want my wife to have to be handling, taking care of them in the brooder. I wanted to get them out here. So I moved them right out to the outside hutch. So this was 2 weeks old, really, right at 2 weeks old, maybe 2 weeks in a day or 2 days, something like that. And I had them acclimated down to about 50 degrees in the brooder box. I moved them outside. 3 days later, this was on Saturday. So Tuesday night going into Wednesday, we had a hard frost. We got down to 34 degrees that night. It was pretty chilly. Didn't lose a single bird. They all made it just fine. And the next night we got down in the mid-30s. The next night down in the mid-30s. The daytime temperatures were getting up close to about 60-ish degrees, something like that. So it was pretty chilly out. And I have lost 2 birds since I moved them outside, but that was several days after the cold fronts passed. So I don't think it had anything to do with the temperature because we were only getting down in the 50s at night those couple of days. So anyhow, I know that was kind of long and drawn out and maybe a little jumbled up. It's kind of hard to follow, but at 2.5 weeks old, honestly, these guys were handling the low of 34 degrees at night and a high of, in the 50s to low 60s during the day. They were doing just fine. Now, if it was wintertime where it was staying in the 30s all day long, I would probably give them another week in the brooder and make it 3 weeks total, and then be moving them outside, maybe 2.5 weeks, something like that. But again, getting pretty aggressive with that, dropping the temperature about 10 degrees a day every day. Once they hit about a week and a half old, I'm dropping that temperature about 10 degrees every single day. And once you get it down to where it's pretty close to the outside temperature, move them outside. They're going to do just fine. The 2 birds that I lost, it wasn't on the same day. It was days apart. And I don't know exactly why I lost them. Who knows? But I think it was just a failure to thrive thing. I don't think it had anything to do with the temperature because it wasn't that cold on those days that I lost the birds. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a little bit of reassurance that, these guys are pretty hardy. Once they get feathered out, right at 2 weeks-ish, they can handle some pretty drastic temperature changes okay. Especially if you're getting like cold at night and then it warms up a little bit during the day. That's a little bit more forgiving, of course. I don't know if that was clear enough, hopefully, for you. We can move in here. We'll take a look at these birds. These guys are going on, let's see, that would be 2, 3. Yeah, they're going on 4 weeks old right now. Let's see, is it 4 weeks old? I think it's about 3.5, actually, something like that. So we'll move in here. We'll take a look at them and see how they're doing. We've got, I don't know, 30-ish, 35-ish birds in here. I got to count them up. I haven't counted them since they, I had 50 that moved into the brooder box, but then I had a snake come in and ate a bunch of them, ate a couple of them, killed a couple more. So I got down to about 35. I lost 2, so I'm somewhere around 33 to 35 birds in here, something like that. But we'll move in here. We'll take a look at them and see how they're doing. They have acclimated very well. They're growing very well. Got a couple of runts, but other than that, everyone's doing well. Let's take a look. All right, hopefully these guys are showing up in here. You can see they've gained some pretty significant, they're looking pretty good. Gained some pretty significant size. It's maybe hard to tell without any context here, but let's put my hands in here and see. Like right here, this is a 3.5-week-old hen. You can still see some yellow in the face and stuff, but for the most part, completely feathered out. So they're doing well. Acclimated to the drink cups fine. Figured out the feeder. Most of, it doesn't look like 35 birds in there because most of them are in the sandbox side, but we can take a look over there too. There's the sandbox. And you can see, maybe if you look hard enough, I've got 1 or 2 that are pretty tiny. I don't even see them right now, so I'm not sure where they are. They're probably over there huddled up. And I think when I lost those couple of birds, those were the ones I lost were the tiny ones, and they probably just got trampled by the other birds, because I think the tiny ones are way back up there in the corner and probably getting run over right now by a bunch of birds. They may be big enough now where they can withstand it, but a couple days ago they were still a little bit smaller. There's one right there. I can see him right there in the back. I don't know if that's pointing him out is going to make any difference, if you can tell. He just crawled over everybody. He's about to go out the door, I think. No, maybe not. There he goes, right out the door. He's pretty tiny, and the one right behind him was too. So 2 or 3 little runts. The rest of them are all doing pretty good, growing pretty well. We got a couple of roosters, a lot of hens, so that's good. That's not always the case. Sometimes you end up with way more roosters than hens, but it looks like I got a pretty decent amount of hens in here. All right, well, you can see the birds are doing pretty well, growing along real well. Hopefully that puts your mind at ease. If you've got some young birds that you've moved outside and you got a cold front coming through or something like that, they're probably going to be okay. Let me know in the comments below if you have questions. I haven't been good about responding to comments lately, but I do see the questions, I do see the comments, so a lot of the times my video ideas come from those. I'll shoot a video and address it if it's a fairly common question that comes up. And if you do have a question that you need answered, join us on a live broadcast on Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock Central. If I don't know the answer, somebody in the chat during the live broadcast probably does, and we can get it answered for you. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, God bless.